What's up, nerds? Back with another video, a little bit of a late night video, a little bit of a political adjacent video, but it's not really, it's about someone political, like the title says. If you don't know who he is, Asmongold, he's a former World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft content creator, streamer, one of the co-founders of OTK. He just makes like political stuff now, right? And well, political stuff, gaming stuff, he just talks about shit, right? And one of the reasons why I personally watch him, and the reason I'm making this video, is because he, very similar to me, experienced a lot of interpersonal relationships, them building them, breaking them apart, doing things together. Essentially, he spent a lot of time in World of Warcraft raiding, and I spent 5 years in World of Warcraft raiding, right? And raiding at a very high level, which means we've got, the different dynamics, whether it's power dynamics, different type of people, how they handle stress, how people talk to each other, how people are able to handle talking to each other, different things in the game outside of raiding, like working with people to get mats for things, working with people to get to progress in game, trying to progress your own character, all sorts of different things that at the end of the day, hey, he might not be a educated, formally educated person when it comes to certain topics. However, his insight into interpersonal dynamics is he was probably forged, that knowledge that he has and the understanding he has of interpersonal relationships and people, that was created and forged in, probably one of the hottest forges, one of the places where you would have the most access. And it's just that my metaphor is falling apart. Just to, again, related to my own life, I mean, the amount of people, clashing personalities, to, getting all of these people together, training them all, getting them all to show up on time for things. I mean, there's so much coordination, there's so much work you had to do. Okay, this person might be kind of a pussy, but they are the best DPS in the game or on the server. So we've got to deal with, a little bit of their interpersonal relationship autism, but in exchange, they are able to handle, a lot of the DPS and fights. And maybe it makes it so two of our other DPS, who might not be the best DPS, but never die ever and are consistent DPS, it kind of covers up for them. And, we balancing all sorts of different dynamics when it comes to a raid, when it comes to playing the game, whether they're, the guild manager, maybe the GM, who is not the actual raid leader. He's the GM. He's able to handle things outside of the raid, able to coordinate players, able to recruit well, but then he's a little too nice, and he's not the best raid leader. And so the in-game raid leader is someone who everyone kind of hates his guts, but they love loot, and he's really good at getting people to do certain jobs, complete different things. I mean, you have to. And then on top of that, because obviously he was a streamer, obviously he's famous, right? He has a very high level of doing these things. Same thing with me, brother. I mean, I did my homework in class in school, or I did my homework ASAP. I did go to after school classes for a little while, and I did all of that because when I got home, guess what fucking time it was? It was time to turn on the computer and get ready for raid, because from 6:30 p.m. Eastern until 12:30 a.m. Eastern, at 4 days a week, it was fucking raid time. And the other 3 days a week, when you weren't raiding, you were prepping or figuring out what you needed to get done, because you had to get this enchantment, you had to get gold to pay for this enchantment. You had to run whatever dungeons to get this item to increase your DPS, because for certain raids, it was just like you could do everything perfect, but if you didn't have the level of gear, you just wouldn't be able to complete it. And that's again because we're doing high level raids. It's not like this is easy mode. This is heroic 25 mans, heroic 40 mans. Like you had to the coordination for that it's crazy, right? And so this video is just to talk about the the effects or the importance of interpersonal relationships and trying to understand where people come from. Because is Asmongold, does he have a PhD? Does he even have a master's? Does he even have a bachelor's in anything related to human psychology? Does he have a bachelor's or master's or PhD in economics or any of these things? No. However, does he have a decade of WoW raiding experience where you need people to do things? You need certain numbers to be hit. You need various things to happen, right? And people, whether or not you like it, right? People gave a shit about that stuff big time. People made it their lives, right? They made it more their lives than I made it my life, right? And so it's just something that I, wanted to make a video about because I saw, some articles talk about how like, oh, Asmongold doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't have any education. He doesn't do any of this. He just says these things, and and he just says these things without any knowledge or anything. It's like, yes, I get that, right? However, you need to understand what World of Warcraft raiding entails, what getting people together to achieve a common goal, getting people to listen to you, getting people to accomplish things, like all of these things are universal. And he understands them like very little other people do. And I just wanted to, touch on it, make a little video about it because it's something that I did spend a lot of my life playing WoW, doing 25-man heroics, doing 10-man heroics, spending 20, 25, 30 hours a week raiding, getting all this shit, all 25 of us smashing our heads into the keyboard because we got 90% of the boss's HP down, goes into phase 4, and some dipshit stands in the fire, spreads it to 4 other people. Some dipshit stands on top of a mushroom instead of in a mushroom, blows up half of our healers or, half of our raid. Like, you had to talk and deal with and interact with so many people, and getting that all to work and all of that, it is not to be underestimated. And it is experience that for me has, led to a lot of how I deal with interpersonal relationships because I turbo ran that shit. And then on top of turbo speed running, getting to know all the people in the guild and getting all together and all this, then we had to actually complete the heroic 25-man on top of that. Complete the heroic 40-man on top of dealing with all of the interpersonal bullshit. Then we had to raid on top of it and complete the raid, and not just one raid boss. Sometimes you wanted to do the whole raid in a row. Maybe sometimes you wanted to, you had to progress. So you had to kill 5-10 bosses to get to the final boss. And the final boss was something that maybe you couldn't get past phase 3. So maybe you cleared out the first 6 bosses in 2 hours, and then you spent the last 3.5 hours slamming your head against the final boss and trying not to trigger all these little things and trying to incorporate all these little things. I mean, it's like, yes, playing chess back in the old days, you could play 10,000 hours of chess, one chessboard against someone else, and you could consider yourself a master, right? Or, so that might make you a master, right? However, someone who spends 5,000 hours in current times with the internet, and maybe they're able to have 4 chess games going at once on their computer. They're able to speed up. They're able to play blitz. They're able to do all these different chess modes just because they haven't played the chess for 10,000 hours. They've only played the chess for 5,000 hours. doesn't mean that they can't achieve the same level of mastery, because when you look at how they played chess, they're absorbing more information and encountering infinitely different, well, similar, but also different problems and situations happening. And all of those things can make you a master. And so, even though Asmongold does not have a PhD, does not have any formal education, he's just talking shit. My man has spent thousands of hours dealing with people, and you cannot underestimate or belittle the knowledge that comes from turbo speed running, interacting that many people. Anyway, this is longer than I wanted it to be. Smoke grass, eat ass, be excellent to each other. I will see you in the next video. Deuces.